Greetings and welcome to our daily walk through the Bible for April the 22nd. Today, our conversations find us in Judges chapter 1 and chapter 2, the first 9 verses, Luke chapter 21 and Luke chapter 22, and then Psalm 90. We do a couple of Psalms and then Proverbs chapter 13, verses 24 through 25. Now, today, just like we usually do, whenever we get to a new book of the Bible, we kind of do an introduction day. And so today we will be talking about the book of Judges. Now, like I talked about yesterday, the book of Judges was written later than the actual occurrences that happen in the book of Judges. We're not really exactly sure of the timing of it. Some people believe that Judges was written during the exile. Other people think it was sometime around 1000 BC, which would have been about 500 years later, which would have been after the time of Judges, but not as far, maybe during David or Solomon's reign. Okay, so the book of Judges, in terms of timeline, takes place immediately after Joshua. As a matter of fact, Judges follows a similar format to other books of the Bible. Exodus. The book of Exodus starts with the death of Joseph and the birth of Moses. Okay? The book of Joshua starts with the death of Moses and the birth of Joshua. Did I say all that right? I think so. And then now the book of Judges starts with the death of Joshua. So they transition by these events of major deaths of major patriarchs. Okay, so the book of Judges starts off kind of copying a little bit of what happens in the book of Joshua, and they recap some of the things that happen. And the reason why they're doing this is because they're setting the stage for what's going to be happening quite a bit in the book of Judges. What we're about to see is a cycle in Judges that is repeated multiple times. And it all comes about from Judges chapter 2, which, like I said, is a part of your reading today. Judges chapter 2, an angel comes and tells them that you have broken my covenant. In other words, a generation has been raised that no longer knows God. It says here in chapter 6, after Joshua dismissed the Israelites, they went over to their inheritances, okay? And after Joshua died, they buried him. And then, I'm cheating a little bit, verse 10, a whole generation comes that does not know God. And this is what Judges is all about. It is now a cycle of a generation that doesn't know God. It's actually several generations. Depending on your scholar, it is either 410 to 480 years takes place in the book of Judges. And we're going to see a series of 6 of the same kind of cycle. We're going to see through the judges. And there are more than 6 judges. We've got what we call primary and secondary judges. Some of them will call them major and minor judges. We're going to go with primary and secondary judges. But each one of the judges, the first judge that we get, Othniel, is a fairly godly person. And we're going to carry this all the way down to Samson, who is the least godly of the judges. And the cycle that we're going to get into is this. We're going to see a generation that starts to sin. And their sin progresses until it reaches what we're going to call apostasy, which is, in essence, unforgivable sin. They have now, as I said yesterday, prostituted themselves. They've now given themselves unto someone else. They've cheated on God. The bride has cheated on the groom and has now gone and are worshiping other gods. So as a result of that, the cycle then moves into the judgment phase, where God then disciplines his people with the hope of bringing them back to him. And this period of discipline ranges anywhere from less than 10 years to 40 years of significant oppression. Okay? So then during that discipline, the people remember God and they turn back to God. And at that point, God brings what we now call judges, but really the better translation is deliverer. When we think of judge, we think of robes and stuff. This is really someone who's going to deliver them and is going to preside over them. But this is not a spiritual leader, typically. This is a governmental leader, okay? When you look at Jephthah and you look at Deborah and Barak and you look at all these other, Gideon and all these other ones, you see that they end up being more of kind of a quasi-king or ruler of the people that looks over them. So then this deliverer comes and they rescue them And for as long as that judge is alive, they follow God faithfully. But as soon as that judge dies, they go back to sinning, and then you get the apostasy, the discipline, so on and so forth. So we see this cycle happen 6 different times. And each time it happens, God brings someone to deliver them. And so that's what we're going to look at here. And there's a couple of themes that we'll try to touch on as we go through the book of Judges. One of those themes is that God uses anybody. Okay, this is very important because we're going to look at the Judges, and honestly, the book of Judges should make us a little uncomfortable. It's a very raw book. These are not Boy Scouts. These are not nice people necessarily that God uses as judges. They use deceit. They use dishonesty. They disobey God purposefully. We're going to see all these different things happen, but God still uses them to deliver and carry out his message, to rescue his people, and to carry on what God's plan and mission is. So we're going to see all sorts of different things happening in the book of Judges. And so tomorrow we get to start with, we look at chapter 2, and we're going to start looking at the left-handed, right-hand man of God, and Othniel, and all those other ones. So that's it for now. We'll talk more next time.